Good evening and welcome to the July 1st meeting of the Tupelo Planning Committee. If everybody would take a second just to silence your cell phones. And I'm going to do that too. All right. At this time, please rise for the invocation given by Lindsay Leak, and then I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, please be with us and guide our actions for the betterment of our city and our citizens. Amen.
Thank you. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Be seated. All right, the Tupelo Planning Committee is a volunteer group appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. We receive no compensation for this as we do it as a community service. We spend a lot of time in our own funds studying and researching the applications and visiting the sites that are on our agenda each month. We ask that you remember that we do not take our positions on any application lightly. Our decisions are based on facts as they are presented and with regard to the regulations set forth in the Development Code. At this time, I'd like to ask the staff and committee members to introduce themselves and the ward they represent, beginning with the staff.
Tanner Newman, Director of Development Services.
Mark Williams, Ward 6.
Aaron Washington, Ward 4.
Hannah Happy, Ward 7.
Bentley Nolan, Ward 5.
Lindsay Leak, at large.
Patty Thompson, at large.
Leslie Mart, Ward 2.
Scott Davis, Ward 1.
Mandolin Chardon, Zoning Tech.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to a review of the previous meeting minutes, and that would be our June minutes. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at those and review those? If you need a moment, you can take that as well.
Thank you.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I second.
All right, thank you. Got a motion from Scott Davis and a second from Leslie Mart. Any discussion there? All right, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. And opposed by like sign, unnecessary. It's unanimous, thank you. All right, we'll now move on to the regular session. We'll start with a report on any council actions. Mr. Newman, do you have anything to report on council actions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the city council at the last meeting sent the sign ordinance amendments that the planning committee had approved some time ago. They sent that back to the Department of Development Services for further review. The only other item was the Verizon cell tower that we reviewed last month. The council did vote to overturn and deny that application. So those are the only two council items we have to report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Newman. All right, we will move on to old business. At our last month's meeting, we moved to table flexible variance 24-04. And revisiting that, I entertain a motion to bring that off the table at this time.
So moved.
All right, we got a motion from Lindsay Leak and a second from Pam Hadley. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, thank you, unanimous. All right, flexible variance 24-04 is an application from Patrick Werner for a variance on lot width for a proposed subdivision off of North Feimster Lake Road, and that property is located in a low-density residential zone. Mr. Newman, any staff analysis on that?
Yes, so I will make a note that last month the major subdivision application, which is MAJ SUB 24-02, was incidentally left off the agenda. Just asked that the flexible variance and the major subdivision application be considered jointly tonight along with the preliminary plat. Mr. Varner has resubmitted, as was requested last month. The updated site plan includes 4 lots. All 4 lots do meet the requirement of the square footage of lots in a low-density residential zone. The minimum frontage required in a low-density zone for each lot is 90 feet. In your staff analysis, you will see that Lot 1, the frontage is 109 feet. Lot 2 is 90.62. Lot 3 is 71.53, and then Lot 4 is 107.06. With this new plan, the only lot that does not meet the standard of 90 feet would be Lot 3 as far as the frontage width. However, it does in fact meet the square footage size. This would typically be a compatible variance that would be reviewed by the Development Services staff, and that decision would be made by the Development Services staff. However, since this project is already before the Planning Committee, I ask that the committee review that one variance along with this project and make the determination based on your review. So, only one lot that requires a variance now, and certainly happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, we'll now open kind of a public portion of the meeting. Will the applicant come to the podium, state your name and address, and then kind of present to us your proposal, kind of what changed from last month and how you did that? Thanks.
My name is Patrick Werner. My address is 174 Road 1046 in Tupelo, Mississippi. What was the other thing? Is that it?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So, based on the request of the committee last time, people felt like I was trying to cram too many things in there, and maybe I was. And so we went back and redesigned it to make it where there was a lot more space, where things wouldn't be so close together. And so I also brought at this time some picture examples of some of the homes. I know there'd be some concern about what it would look like, or maybe it's good, maybe it's not. So I did bring a couple examples of samples of what the homes might look like, if that's something that people would like to look at, or anybody would like to look at. So that is available right here. And so, yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
Can we pass those around?
Sure.
Yeah.
We bumped it up a little bit because of style, with the lot being a little bigger. We bumped the houses up a little bigger by maybe 150 square feet. So most of these are around 1,700, give or take a little bit. And the ones with a garage, that would be without a garage, would be, the living space would be around 17. 2 of the 3 do.
All right, thank you,
So-
Mr. Werner. We appreciate it. Are there any questions for Mr. Werner just on that from the committee yet? All right, you can have a seat, and if we have any questions, we'll bring you back, I'm sure.
I think Leslie.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Leslie, I didn't see.
Might as well just ask some of these questions, avoid him having to get up and down. So now we are only at Lot 3, that is not quite the width as the others, but the back of that lot well exceeds that. That's correct at 177 square linear feet, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So in the, I've been working back and forth with folks at the city, and so on Lot 3, you have a line at the top, then you have a line that goes perpendicular, then you have a line to the right. And so they're only counting the 2 lot, the first line and the third line, as part of that number. And so, to me, that perpendicular line is still road space. Like, even though it's doing a funny shape there, because on the lot on the left, instead of a straight line, it's a curve, and we're counting that. And so, I don't know the rules as far as perpendicular lines, but I do know that counts as road, and you have to have a certain amount of space between that. And so, but I wasn't, I don't know all those rules as far as perpendicular lines for roads and stuff like that. So, but if that was the case and we could count that, then it is long enough. But it's just how you look, I guess, how you look at it.
And can I just,
Oh, we'll open the public portion in just a second, if you just 1 second.
can I just say that thank you for listening to all of our recommendations and making these changes. You listened to both the neighbors and to the planning committee, and I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I don't want to go anywhere and cause any problems, for sure. But I do know that this was an opportunity, that I am for profit, and, I just saw an opportunity, I want to take it, and so I want to be as gracious as I can, and so, but also with you guys being gracious towards me, because I'm losing the profit of one house in this. But I'm willing to do that if that would help with the situation.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Okay, you can have a seat, Mr. Verner. Thank you. All right, is there anyone here to speak for or against this application? If so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and feel free to tell us your comments or concerns.
I'm Marion Maloney, and I'm neither for or against. I was requested by some of the interested parties, the people living in the area, that are concerned that this road is going to be in their backyard, and I don't know where I got the impression that the city didn't allow backyards facing city streets. Is that one of the covenants of most subdivisions, that there are no backyards?
No, ma'am. That's not part of our development code. I'll say that this particular street, if you look at this plat that was mailed out to everyone, these new lines line up almost identical with the existing property lines there of Cleora Brown property, and
Well, that will be her side yard, but the
Okay.
rest of them would be backyards.
right. And so, I mean, there is no code that says they can't, that their backyard can't face a street,
But
especially
a new street can be built.
Yes,
And this is going to be a dedicated city street?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it would be up to code.
that's right.
So the backyards now will face my property, which is the property that would be assumed commercial because it is actually agricultural right now. There's soybeans on it. But that would be something that as you come off the Interstate 22, you would see the backyards of these houses, right? Is there any thought as to the design of that not being the best use of the property?
From a staff analysis standpoint, this probably is the best use for the property, but I will defer to Mr. Varner when after the public comment portion to discuss any type of barrier that he may intend to place there as far as a natural or a tree barrier or fence or anything like that.
Well, I have no plans for the development of that property, but I do know it would have to be filled because it is probably below the floodplain. And his property sits on a higher elevation, so it would be much more visible. But the interest that I have is, as a designer myself, that we would want to keep that property as attractive, since it's going to be probably one of the major entrances into Tupelo. It is the Auburn exit. The other one, of course, is Veterans, and it is being developed now. This one still has a lot of property to develop. So I just was going to ask, because the neighbors were concerned about having the street down their backyard, which would look into their area. It's fairly high density for that area, because most of us that live in East Heights have a good bit of acreage. And I know they're concerned that these property values, but if he is able to put the square footage he says, those ought to be desirable homes. I just, from developer myself, wonder if he can pay for the street and the infrastructure on 4 lots. But if he thinks he's got it ready to develop, I would just like to see some kind of barrier so that you don't look into residential backyards as you come off that ramp there.
That's reasonable.
Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Marion. Appreciate it.
Okay, oh, okay, we were gonna ask what your name was.
Oh, yeah, ma'am, do you mind to fill out that sheet, just your name, address?
Oh, I didn't know we had the sheet up there. I'm sorry. Yep, I'll just make a note. If you come to the podium, if you don't mind writing your name and address on the sheet at the podium. Thank you. Thank you. All right, is there anyone else to speak for or against the application?
Hello,
Hey there.
I'm Cleora Brown. My property is adjacent to this property in question. And I have lived out there for 43 years. And I have thoroughly enjoyed the nice, quiet, safe neighborhood that we have enjoyed all these years. I'm in favor of progress and growth, but developing a mini subdivision right there adjacent to my property would likely adversely affect our safe, quiet, peaceful neighborhood because there would be more traffic, more noise, more people. This would affect my properties and the surrounding properties, I believe, financially, as well as our right to peacefully enjoy our property and live there in a peaceful, quiet manner. We are zoned low-density residential, and maybe I'm wrong, but I was thinking that that does not fit, the 4 houses going in over there does not fit the low-density zoning and is not compatible to the rest of the neighborhood. That's the way I'm looking at it. I would like to see 1, maybe 2 real nice homes built over there. In years past, I've had some really, really good, nice neighbors, so good to me. And I would like to see those good neighbors again. Not those before, but some good neighbors back. Now, the plans, there's some people who live right behind me. I have to give them access to their property, which is on that side of my property. They have a little driveway. And the plans for this calls for a street that's going in right by the side of these people's driveway. And that would be along my property. And the houses that is being proposed to be built would be facing my property. And their garages, their front yards, everything would be facing my property. Would there be a buffer between the development of that street and that property and my property to kind of buffer out the noise and the so-called the scenery, maybe? Now, there is an older house that is on that property, and I'm guessing that house to be 75 to 100 years old. And there's probably more than likely asbestos in that house. There is a garage that's on that property that was built, I'm going to say, in the mid-90s. It's a it was a fairly nice garage. Now, the property is flat, and the stormwater drainage is an issue out in that area. And there is a concern about the water drainage coming over on me, on my property. So that's about all I have to say, and I appreciate your listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. We appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else here to speak for or against the application?
My name's Mark Kaysen. I live at 424 Morganwood, and I've lived there since about 1968. And the question was that I had, when we first became a city, could there have been a way we could have made some kind of ordinance that was said that we could stop big houses or multi-houses, or just have one house on an acre lot or something like that, the single family, and keep it fairly quiet and fairly small. And I'm sure there is no ordinance, like that for a community of group of people could have came up with. But, we would have liked for it to stay a little smaller, a little quieter. The highway's there, and we know there's going to be businesses eventually built right there. Trucks, there's a truck place there now, and so you can't stop progress. And I'm not for stopping it, but at least the city of Tupelo does give us a way to voice our opinions, and it's very nice of y'all to do this for us. But could we have not said something when the city we got into the city saying single-family homes, no apartments, no rent houses, and not 5 or 6 houses on an acre lot. And so I don't know anything else that's to say about it. Y'all have addressed everything pretty much, so I'll just sit down now.
Thank you, Mr. Kaysen. Appreciate it. Anybody else to speak for or against here? All right. Thank you. Mr. Werner, if you want to come address, you're welcome to some of the concerns.
You'll have to remind me of some of the questions.
I will. So the one question I have, first let me address a couple of things, just as far as the facts. So the drainage, in the event that this subdivision is approved, the city engineer will work closely with their engineer to make sure that the drainage is not an issue. They will have to provide a drainage plan, and our city engineers will follow through the development process. Will ensure that plan is maintained. So the city does take some responsibility there as far as ensuring that there's not a drainage issue. So I will comment on that. As far as the low density residential zone, by code, by statute, the smallest that a lot could be would be 1/3 of an acre, and all 4 of these lots exceed that. They're all almost 1/2 of an acre, just short of 1/2 of an acre. And the largest that a lot in a new development in the LDR zone could be is 1 acre. So as far as just by statute, the proposal here doesn't meet and exceed those guidelines. I do have a question. I would like some comment from the developer regarding the barrier on both the backyards of the new development and Miss Brown's property.
Okay. So when we're talking about like a barrier, are we saying like a fence or something like that down the side of the road or something like that? Because on the back of the house.
That's where you couldn't see the houses from the road.
Oh, well,
People were doing it in their backyard anyway.
Right now, on the
Mhm.
and they are slowly dying one at a time. So I'm wondering if a fence, a privacy fence, some kind of greenery, something between our properties, between me and the houses.
Excuse me, if you're, we need you to come, I understand your question, but we're recording and we cannot pick up what you're saying, so if, you're gonna have to speak into a microphone, cause we won't know this, the
No, I
minutes
can,
won't be.
and I can sum it up, I think. A fence would not be allowed as far as along that street in your backyard. Like that, you couldn't have a fence running along the street. However, some type of green barrier as far as trees, help me out.
Landscaping.
Yes.
Juniper type.
Right, something like
Any
that.
kind of-
Yeah.
Would be appropriate.
Yeah, so as far as like if you wanted some type of, probably some larger juniper thing, now I would probably purchase them this high, knowing that they grow really fast and they get really big and really wide. And so I would be willing to do that, if that's something that would help, as far as the noise or a barrier and create some separation as far as your property goes. I would be fine with that.
Thank you. All right, you can have a seat. I think that.
Okay. Forgot to write my name here.
All right, we will now close the floor for public comment and open discussion within the planning committee at this time.
Is it, so when this originally came up to us, because it was 5 lots, at that point, he had to provide a common mailbox location. Since we are now down to 4, is it correct that he no longer needs to provide that?
That's correct.
Each home will now have its own mailbox?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm curious about him having to plant trees in someone else's backyard.
It would have to be on his property if he chose to do that.
Okay.
Good question.
And then any buffer between future commercial development and these lots?
Right
If it's
now-
approved and it sells,
Yeah, right
then
now.
the commercial person would need to provide that barrier
The commercial to the residential. not
to the
resi-
residential, not
Because right
vice
now it's
versa.
agricultural,
Correct.
and there's
The
no
commercial
barrier for
developer would be
agricultural.
responsible.
You can't hypothetically say, well,
Yeah.
at some point it would,
Sure.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'll just say I appreciate all the efforts that he has gone through to put these bigger lots. They're very nice homes from the photos that I've seen. I think it'll certainly be a compliment to that area. I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think you have worked with this committee and those in the neighborhood, so again, much appreciation. So with that said, I make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, just to clarify your motion, that is the motion to approve the major subdivision and preliminary plat
Correct.
And variance.
and the
Variance.
flexible variance 24-04. Yeah. So we'll just take those all up together. And the second from Pam Hadley. Thank you. All right. Any discussion there? Seeing none, all in favor to approve this motion, raise your right hand. And no need, that is unanimous. So thank you. All right. Let's see here. Where I'm going. All right, and Mr. Newman can walk you through the next steps.
Yeah, so tonight's vote is a recommendation to the city council. I intend to take this before the council probably as a study agenda at the second meeting in July, and then hold a vote the first Tuesday in August.
Yep. And we appreciate you working with us on the application. Are there any applications for our next meeting?
At this moment, no, but we will reevaluate next week.
Okay.
Before we do that, can I make a question?
Sure.
Hang on while I confer with my partners over here. Can you bring this up now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for conferring
Well,
with me
just,
first.
just see what
Yes.
he says about it.
Right, so we understand that that the city is reevaluating, reviewing the sign ordinances. Can we, as the planning committee, ask that we apply a moratorium on any sign permits from this point forward?
So I've spoken with the administration and legal counsel about that this week. If we could get a formal request from the planning committee for me to submit to the mayor and to our legal team, I think that would be the next appropriate step here. I would ask that we limit that to, I think we've got to tailor it to specific, if we're going to say specific types of signs.
Billboards.
Then I think we need to be
Billboard signs,
specific
anything.
about that.
So just the word billboard is good,
Can we say anything over a certain height?
You you could, or a certain size. I do think, just billboard in general would suffice. But I would ask that we place a specific time frame on it, whether that's 6 months, 12 months, and a specific reason that we are reviewing this sign ordinance as part of the comprehensive plan. So I just want to be as detailed as possible in that request.
Could it be until the sign ordinance comes back to us for review? Would that, it's not a firm date, but we don't know what that date would be.
Or until the code updates and the comprehensive plan is a
Maybe
pretty concrete
maybe
date.
12 months or until.
Until,
I would say until and to not exceed 12 months, and then we can review it further at 12 months, just to cover us legally.
We'll reevaluate after 12 months. Okay, so let me make sure that I get this right. So I would make a motion that we implement a moratorium on billboard signs 12 months from today, and to be reevaluated at that 12-month mark, or until the sign ordinances are represented,
And add some language about the comprehensive plan being the reason.
until something comes forth from the comprehensive plan. Did
And
somebody
this-
write down
and
what I
and
just
this
said?
would be only on new billboard,
Yes, any new applications for new billboards.
but existing billboards and replenishment them would not fall under this.
Correct.
If they would apply for renovating an existing billboard, I would say that would apply. New or changes to existing billboards. Good point, Mark.
Well, then I'd probably have to be against that. If you've already got a billboard mechanism and they're just polishing it up and making it better, I don't know if we want to be the detriment why
Yeah.
this is taking long, this long to get it done. So I could certainly support if it's construction of a new billboard, but not maintenance and renovation to an existing.
Not maintenance, but so what kind of renovations would you do to a billboard?
I think we probably just leave the renovation part off.
you just leave it at new.
Yeah.
new applications.
New applications?
So do you want to clean that up for us? Just to, I have
Oh, Lord.
motion for an implementation of a moratorium on billboards for 12 months or until the sign ordinance comes back before this board because due to the potential code changes in the comprehensive plan.
There we go.
All right, thank you, Leslie, for that beautiful motion. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
A second from Scott. All right.
Just so you got new in there.
Yes, correct. All new billboard applications, yes, for clarification. All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And that is unanimous. All right, thank you all. All right, if we have anything come up for our next meeting, our next work session will be, I think, July 29th, and our next public meeting will be August 5th. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.